Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another retro magazine thing. Because this time we're going to be looking at GMmagazine issue number 2, way back from 1988. Now I covered number 1 a couple of years back, I imagine, but I have the full set, so this will be fun to carry on through. This isn't a magazine which has loads of adventures in it. It is covering more of the news, which does mean that it's a fantastic look into the role-playing scene of the time. So let's go over and have a look at GM Magazine issue number 2. So this is GM Magazine, the independent fantasy role-playing magazine, and it's volume 1 number 2. I already covered issue 1 a while ago. It's been a couple of years. And this is for October 1988. So it's one of the earlier role-playing magazines in my collection, except going back to really old dragons and white dwarfs. Perhaps it's the first independent role-playing magazine that I became aware of on shops' shelves in ordinary shops in the UK. Now, one of the points I must make about this is that it's larger than most magazines. Not by much, but if I grab a copy of Infantry Weapons of the World, which is standard A4 size, you can see that laying it on with the corner here, GM Magazine's actually slightly larger, which makes it a bit cumbersome. That's why these magazines, the edges are so damaged, because they stick out in my collection. Now, we can see from the cover, we've got Watching the Watchmen and Battletech. Now, something that this magazine really did more than others was it did real deep dives. So we're going to get a lot of Battletech coverage as they kind of introduce it to their readers. Because this is obviously before the internet was around or in common usage. I believe by 1988 the internet did exist, but I'm sure none of us had actually used it at that point. So we weren't going to be finding out things online. We were going to be finding them out in our game stores and through magazines. This was introducing a lot of people to Battletech. We've got Dungeon Master Mastered, Win AD&D Games, exclusive Terry Pratchett short story, 2300 AD reviewed, live role-playing at Spirit of Adventure. Inside, we've got a nice colour advert for Fist, Fantasy Interactive Scenarios by Telephone by Steve Jackson. Now, these were basically choose-your-own-adventure type game books, but on the telephone. So you'd phone up, and you would have the situation described to you like you would read the paragraphs or whatever in a fantasy game book, and then it would tell you to press 1 or 2 based on the decisions, instead of turn to page 53 and page 110, as the game books would do. So this was really, really cool, because you could hear things, you know, feel like you're there, hear the roar of the flesh eater as your sword bites, the sizzle of the fireball bursting towards you, the clinking of gold pieces you find hidden in the Demon Prince's underground dungeon. And you could win prizes for completing it. There's various hints on play as well. You can use a limbo option to store your player up to 4 weeks. Use 9 at any time. Limbo code allows you to stop and start your adventure in leisure time without beginning again. You'll return to where you left off next time. And you can get various hints by sending in for them, finding out the character's status report. Now, these have kind of come back up recently. I've been seeing adverts for them on Facebook. Now, I'm surprised that hasn't been done before. I would have thought that by using some stock fantasy artwork and the audio that existed, you could have put these on DVD years ago and used the chapter select options to go through them. I'm very, very surprised it's taken until now for them to come back. Although I know nothing more about how they've been revived, whether these are new ones or whether they're just putting out the old ones before. I think it'd be quite a cool idea. Also got an advert here for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons computer products. We've got Heroes of the Lance and Pool of Radiance. I never played Pool of Radiance, but I played Pools of Darkness to the absolute death. I played it many hundreds of hours. Got a contents page, a bit difficult to read, a very dark background, which is unfortunate because there's a nice editorial here, where they introduce the GM heroes, Tim, Wayne and Paul. Now, I did mention in a magazine fairly recently that Wayne carried on through a number of different magazines. He's this very spiky-haired gentleman in the middle, very blonde, bleach blonde hair he's got. Now, he carried on through a bunch of game magazines. became the go-to guy for role-playing, I believe. Although, apparently, according to this, he's more about play-by-mail stuff. Got an advert for Amiga User International. Espionage, the computer game, something I'm not aware of at all. And then we're into news. And we've got Warhammer out on computer, talking about Warhammer Fantasy Battle being the first game for computerization. Decision has been yet as whether Warhammer 40,000 and Rogue Trader are both under consideration. Well, 40,000 Rogue Trader was the name of the game. Martial arts rules, high-tech role-playing. FRP company admits mistake. Games Designers Workshop. Slaughter Mountain Run, the Mad Max type books from Joe Dever, the guy who did the Lone Wolf books. Freeway Warrior series of adventures. Now, I didn't really get into those, although I love post-apocalyptic fiction, and Mad Max type stuff really is one of my favourite movies. But these were almost James Bond-like. There was a secret organisation which had caused the Third World War, and you were out to sort of defeat them in the post-apocalyptic setting. I wasn't keen on them. I much preferred the ones that the Fighting Fantasy game books did. Willow, talking about that movie, various stuff from Iron Crown Enterprises, Mouths of the Entwash for MERP. Lost and Found stuff, talking about the Lost Boys movie. Yeah, we're way back during all this classic stuff. Weekend Murder, Punk Power, the Neuromancer computer game coming out. From the same people that brought us The Bard's Tale. Love The Bard's Tale, absolutely loved Neuromancer, actually completed that back in the day. Fantastic, fantastic game. And kind of looking forward to the TV series they're making now. I don't know whether it'll be as good, but looking forward to it. Return of the D30, so a bunch of gaming tables. You roll a D30 to choose select different things from. Kind of cool. Espionage and different GURPS things. So GURPS Space coming out. I've covered that on the channel before. Happy birthday to Doctor Who. Its 25th anniversary before it was cancelled. Mirkwood from Iron Crown Enterprises. Surprised they didn't put that in with the other stuff. And Jade Games presents The Chronicle of Kings. Avalon 2. Play by mail. Post 2. Yep, PBM game. We've got letters page. And then we're on to the Battletech coverage. So, what is Battletech? It explains it. Boxes full of mechs. I remember those maps and those cardstock characters. And then we've got stuff like City Tech, Aerotech. It's really fleshing out the things, along with some nice adverts here. Battle Force, so small unit actions in the 31st century. The Succession Wars, reinforcements. Going through the different source books. I remember the books of mechs were absolutely gorgeous. But we've got the different houses here, the Mercenaries Handbook, a book on dropships and jump ships. The technical readout, those were the ones. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Just really inspired me because they look so cool. So we've got the 3025 one, 3026 one being covered. Guide to Battletech paint schemes. Fox's Teeth, the exploits of McKinnon's Raiders. An advert for subscribing to GM. The It's a Crime, that's another play-by-mail game. Carrying on. So we've got, as I said, a real deep dive covering in so many books. Saga of the Grey Death Legion. Spider and the Wolf. So that's a novel, I believe. Oh, the first Battletech graphic novel. As well as listing out a bunch of the novels. And we've got a page on what the status of PBMs are. We've got reviews of various books. So we've got The Art of the Dragonlance Saga, Strata by Terry Pratchett. Highway Holocaust by Joe Dever. Then a tabletop playtest for 2300 AD, including Kafer Dawn. So really going into depth here. Say it's only 7 out of 10 for play value for money. I would rate it higher. I really quite like 2300 AD. Tabletop playtest, Mythic Greece, The Age of Heroes by Iron Crown Enterprises. Cities of Middle-earth, Minas Tirith. Also by ICE. An advert for Sky Galleons of Mars for 1889, the miniatures battle game. Battle of Halji by Fugitive Games. What else we got here? New Infinities Productions. The people set up by Gary Gygax after he left TSR. Good King Despot the Convert. So an adventure. Gary Gygax presents Fantasy Master role-playing accessories. Exactly what we were just talking about. New Infinities Productions. So we've got various things that he's selling. And obviously New Infinities went on to release Cyborg Commando, which is one of my most loved and most hated games. Midgard by Meta Games. Life Support, talking about computer games. We've got talking about Magnetic Scrolls releasing the Pawn and then Fish. The President is Missing from Microprose. Wasteland, which obviously went on to more modern versions, but they kind of tried to bring it back with the Fallout games. A nice massive poster for Ultima V The Warriors of Destiny. Very, very nice stuff. Though I don't know why they felt necessary to put their logo on the corner. And then we've got a review of it, computer playtest. And an interview with Lord British alias Richard Garriott. So some very nice collected stuff. Going live role-playing with Spirited Adventure. Talking about that. Advert for Labyrinth, get real life role-playing now. A review of various designs. And then we're introducing it to The Watchmen, talking about the DC Heroes version of it. So we're introducing people to what Watchmen is about. A guide to various collectibles. And an interview with Ray Winiger, who's written the Watchmen adventure Taking Out the Trash, which does seem quite interesting because it's set way before the movies, and it talks about how he was talking to Alan Moore, who gave him background information. So it would appear to be one of the more accurate add-ons for Watchmen, far more than the newer comic series. Alan Moore says there'll be no sequel to Watchmen. Ha, if only you'd known. And we've got the reviews of the two first adventures, Who Watches the Watchmen and Taking Out the Trash, which they give a value for money 9 out of 10. A paint shop feature on painting up Watchmen miniatures. Get the most from your post, so a feature on play-by-mail stuff. An advert for Games Workshop stores, not as far as Glasgow at this point. The Cauldron. A deep dive player's guide into Dungeon Master, the Atari ST and Amiga game. More famous on the ST, where it's considered to be one of the most classic games on the system. But we've got all the maps here laid out, telling you the different levels of it. Going through to complete the game, all 10 levels. Option to win signed game books. A scenario, Moonshine, using any fantasy role-playing game. Some nice wee maps there. Advert for War in Middle-earth on different systems, ST, Amiga, C64, PC, Apple II, Amstrad and Spectrum. A short story by Terry Pratchett, Final Reward. Advert for a free offer, a 16-page rulebook and 2 free turns, so play-by-mail game. Lots more heroes, talking about Heroes of the Lance. A feature on the Nightmare television program. Now, this was a game show on TV which kids would take part, where one of them would wear a helmet and basically would wander around in computer-generated situations. He was blinded by the helmet, so he would be told by the other players who could see him being set, projected onto the backgrounds. You know, whether he should go left, right, what he should do. So the other players were telling him what to do as he took part in these fantasy adventures. Talking about how it's based on Dungeons & Dragons. I'm a games player, but not Dungeons & Dragons. I played it once for half an hour, but don't have 5 hours to spare. It doesn't fit into my lifestyle. Ha! We've got an advert for next month, Martial Arts Mayhem. An advert for Micronet Shades, the multi-user game. And then on the back cover, we've got an advert for the Warrior Trilogy from Battletech, some of the novels by Michael A. Stackpole, a very respected author indeed. So, that was GM Magazine issue number 2. Some great stuff in there. Really, really like the deep dive into Battletech, telling you all about the background and reviewing so many of the books, so you can really get into that game if you're interested. It's definitely a way of learning about these games in a time before the internet allowed you to, when these were just boxes on the shelves of your game store and you would pretty much have to pay money to sample anything. This gave you a big deep dive into a particular game that you might not have been aware of. And it did similar, but to a lesser degree, with 2300 AD and many, many other great articles in there, covering all of the aspects of role-playing, from tabletop games, wargaming, miniatures games, play-by-mail, and live role-playing. It really tried to cover everything in role-playing back in '88, and it's a really, really interesting look into the scene of that time. It brings back so many memories of great games. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.